feel like episodes like Formula for Disaster kind of show how the writing and characterization in season two is starting to be more three dimensional. For instance, with Mr. Chesper, I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, but in season one, he was the stereotypical mean teacher who ends up becoming the conspiracy nuts when he believes all the video game characters are aliens. And he's still like that in season two, but they almost make him a bit of a, I don't want to say an anti hero, but he's kind of become almost like an unofficial human villain, almost by teaming up with Lord Fear, making a formula to weaken Ace. And it's one thing I've noticed that the villains don't really have a mad scientist villain type member. So Chesper kind of does fill that role for them. And you do wonder, which side he's. Well, really, you don't really wonder what side he's going to choose because he's just going to go for the winning team. And yeah, you do wonder if he's going to get out of this alive, really. Another character who I want to talk about is Wayne, who's the school bully. And the reason why I've not talked about him before in the previous videos is because, well, there's just been nothing to talk about him other than the fact that he's the school bully. But not in this episode. This episode, they actually try to. I think. I mean, I'm going to be honest, we're nearing the end of season two now, but I do feel like this episode was meant to be the start of his. Well, it was showing more sides to him, really. I mean, we did kind of see that in season one. I mean, I know I said he was kind of like the stereotypical bully in season one, but except for one thing, and that was his cousin who ends up being Chuck's girlfriend. We see a bit of his soft side, and I wouldn't be surprised if the show had continued. He would have had a bit of a redemption arc, and he might have even joined the Lightning Knights and the other heroes. He could have very easily been one of the more. He could have very easily become a anti-hero type figure. There's actually more anti-hero type characters in the series than I remember, and or at least some that had potential to become those type of figures in the series. Another thing this episode deals with is Mark trusting Chuck more. It's understandable because for a long time Chuck was just an unintentional victim while Mark always had to save him. But this time, now that Chuck knows, he's now more ready for whatever dangers happens. And yeah, that's really all I can say about this one. In Choices, it kind of focuses on the teen sitcom side of things with Samantha coming back. It kind of enters a bit of a love triangle between Mark and Kat and Samantha. Thankfully, it gets resolved pretty quickly at the end of the episode. It does imply that this isn't going to be the last time we see Samantha, but since since we never got a season 3, we don't know that. Apart from that, the other major plot point is Lady Illusion and her loyalty, well, her feelings for Ace and her loyalty towards the Carnival of Doom, and it's pretty much confirmed that most of these characters don't really have a choice in their actions. They have to do these things because it's just in their program. They have no choice. They don't really have any free will. So it kind of adds a bit of a tragic side to these characters that we don't really get explored enough. And by the end, the status quo has to stay, well, until the end of the season. In Rock Gut Right Again, I can finally talk about Rock Gut as a character. So throughout, we've seen throughout all of season two just being the most useless of the villains. He's just an undead cowboy zombie whose limbs fall off, and he's not very good at combat. He's just completely useless until this episode, which actually shows what he's capable of, and it turns out he's got the ability to possess people, as in takes over their bodies, which, no, I'm just going to say this right now, that's always been one of the more creepy superpowers in my opinion, because just the idea of another another person entering your body and making you do all these things, and you just think to yourself, what's happening to the victim? Do they remember what happened? Do they know what's going on? It's just so creepy. And I suppose it does make sense giving it to the one undead character. And it's a nice little, in many ways, it's kind of like a nice little don't judge a book by its cover type scenarios, because we all thought Rockgut was useless this whole time, but it turns out he has one of the more disturbing powers out of all the villains, and it actually shows that he's in his own twisted mind. He doesn't see anything wrong with that, and I'm going to be honest. The effects of seeing Rockgut's eyes in Chuck's eyes, it is very creepy. It is it is one of those disturbing yet funny episodes. And meanwhile, Googler's back as well, who now has the ability to bleed Lightning Knights whenever he hits them, which shows that the villains are getting more powerful. So yeah, that's all I can really say about this one, and we're pretty much nearing the end of the series now. So the next three episodes, the last three episodes, are going to be pretty much all connected with one another, and it'd be interesting to see how this all ends.